Good evening. You're watching The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. And what a weekend of boxing we have to look forward to on both sides of the Atlantic. Haye and Chisora at Upton Park, and then Khan and Garcia do battle a few hours later in Las Vegas. I'm Trevor Harris, and to help me through the next half hour, I'm delighted to say Spencer Oliver's here, the former European bantamweight champion. Very welcome, Spencer. And Chris Graham, our betting expert. First thing, Spencer. Now, as far as I'm aware, you never had a press conference punch-up. No. Are these fighters getting rewarded for brawling, and should this fight be happening in the first place?
Trevor, what's happened is it's created a lot of public interest and it's captured the public imagination. So, love it or hate it, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, the fight's going on and people are looking forward to it. I mean, wherever you go, people are talking about it. So, I mean, that can only be good for boxing, but what happened wasn't good for boxing, you know, and it's unfortunate now the Luxembourg licensing is now doing it and the boxing board controlling it. That's all the politics that, you know, that we don't really get involved in, but, you know, like I said, it captured the public imagination and people want to see the fight.
Chris, Spencer's right, isn't he? I mean, it has captured the public's attention and the tills are ringing at the bookmakers as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can bemoan it and we can morally decry it and stuff like that, but you're right, it has captured the imagination. It's got a lot of headlines, and it's, you know, it's a very interesting betting heat as well. So, you know, it's rolling Saturday night.
Well, we'll get Spencer's opinion on the fight in a minute, but first of all, the odds, Chris. There has been a move for the Haymaker. The current odds are as follows. He's big odds on David Haye, 6 to 70. That's basically 1 to 3 in layman's terms. So you're betting £3 to win 1. Chisora's a 3 to 1 shot. The draw's always a big price, but there has been a move for Haye.
Yeah, he was I think he was 4 to 11 at the start of the week, and he's been nibbled at a wee bit, 6 to 17 now, which is an interesting odd. I've not saw that one before, but yeah, but confidence seems to be behind Haye here, and I think that's right, to be honest.
There is a difference in class, isn't there, Spencer, between Haye and Chisora?
Well, listen, Dereck Chisora was former British champion, David Haye former world champion, so at cruiserweight and heavyweight. So obviously David's going to start a massive favourite. You know, he's boxing a better calibre of opponent, a higher class of opponent. But Dereck always comes and he always puts up a fight, so it's going to be interesting.
We know at the weigh-in that Haye is much lighter than Chisora. A real disparity, 34 pounds or something.
Yeah.
Is that very relevant or not? Because Chisora's camp think it is.
I know they do. I know they do because they're in my gym. Dereck,
of course, yeah.
Dereck's in my gym with Don Charles. We speak on a daily basis. I've seen the whole training camp. I know they think it's relevant. Do I think it's relevant? No. David Haye, I think, is best at around the 15 stone mark. He carries dynamite in either hand. The last time he boxed at 15 stone was Enzo Macronelli, which was a few years ago now. Let's look at the big guys that David Haye's boxed. Now, he won the world heavyweight title against Valuev, who was 24 stone. He weighed in at some 15 stone, 7 pounds. So I don't think it's relevant. I think that if anything, David will bring more speed to the game, and that's what he's going to need. Dereck Chisora loves to come forward, loves to brawl, loves to systematically beat people up and break them down. Now David Haye's going to be looking to move around and pot shot him and throw quick combinations. So
I'm glad you mentioned the speed element, because one thing that hasn't been, as far as I can see, publicised a lot is that Haye's got a much longer reach than Chisora, and that could be crucial.
Well, yeah, and he's also a lot quicker. You know, and that's what he's going to try and bring to the table. You know, he's going to try and get, the way that I see the fight going is, I think he's going to go out there and I think he's going to try and use his speed and try and stay on the outside and pick shots from the outside and look to wing in those big right hands over the top, which we've seen him do so many times before. He caught Valuev with it, he knocked Enzo Macronelli out with it, and that's the one shot that Dereck Chisora's got to be careful of.
They're billing this fight licensed to thrill, licensed in Luxembourg, obviously, rather than London. Do you think it's going to be an explosive fight? Because there's clearly a lot of bad blood between these fighters. That's an understatement, probably.
I think that what's happened, you know, what's happened with the two and the fight out in Germany and the whole build up to it all, there's going to be so much pride because it's caught the public imagination. Both guys, there's going to be so much pride. Now, you know, David Haye's been training as hard as he possibly could because he's coming at 15 stone. I've seen Dereck Chisora in our gym. I know exactly what he brings to the table. He's been sparring a guy called Joe Hanks, who's 22-0, a top-ranked American. Nathan Cleverly, who's a world champion. He's been sparring him for the speed and stuff. So they both put everything into this because there's so much pride. So, you know, it's going to be real interesting.
All right, well, let's get the view straight from the Chisora camp because we've got Chisora's trainer, Don Charles, on the phone. Don, thanks very much for joining us. What's the mood like in your man's camp at the moment? How's he feeling?
Oh, Derek's a very laid-back character, as everybody knows. He's very chilled, you know. He, very confident because, like I said, I always say this, confidence, it depends on what type of confidence. When you've trained well, there's been no injuries, preparation in terms of sparring, all different aspects of training, everything's been really good. So you draw a lot of confidence from that. The fighter does, and also the training team draw confidence from that.
He has,
and
though.
He's a confident person anyway.
But he has lost 3 of his last 4 fights, though, hasn't he, your man?
Pardon me?
He has lost 3 of his last 4 fights.
Sorry, the line is not clear. He's what?
Sorry, I was just saying that his recent form is not good. He's lost 3 of his last 4 fights.
Okay, if you allow me,
Sure.
For the European title, he won that. If you haven't seen the fight, I recommend you watch it. He won that hands down. We got robbed there. So obviously, it will always read that he lost that fight. So we're not accepting that one. Tyson Fury, we lost. He came in worse shape. He shouldn't have even been in the ring for that fight, but no excuses. He got beaten better man on the night, yeah? So we'll take that. The Vitali, yes, we lost that on points. Again, it wasn't a walk in the park for Vitali, like it usually is. So, he's gained loads of experiences from those losses, okay? With the exception of one of them, like I always contest that he didn't lose the Hellenius fight. Categorically, we stand on that.
Chisora says it's going to be a crazy fight. What does he mean by that?
Well, only Chisora can answer you exactly his description of crazy. He's always perceived as a crazy person anyway. I'm the closest to death. So when he says I'm going to be, basically, he's going to come out there and bring a fight to David Haye. Which David Haye, the master at selling the British, I must add, the very forgiving British public. They always fall for his bullshit, excuse my expression, always fall for his hype. Yeah, they're very forgiving, very, very forgiving. And I really admire the British public for that, because this always promises and always fails to deliver, but yet again, people always fall for it. So you got to admire the guy. Fantastic salesman that I always call him, which he is.
Okay. Look, apologies if anyone's offended by the language. I've got Spencer Oliver here, Don, who wants to ask you a question.
Yeah, Don, now we was talking about there, I'm just going to go back to losing 3 of his last 4 fights, but really, if you look at the calibre of opponent that he's boxed, and the Hellenius one, which I saw as well, which he probably won 10 of the 12 rounds, which was undoubtedly a home decision there. But do you think that stands him now? That stands him in good stead for this fight, because he's been in deep water before. He knows how to come through that, and he's going to bring all that into this fight.
Well, look, the line is not very clear, but I believe I got the gist of what you asked me. Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm saying is that Derek's now mixed in world class. He's boxed Klitschko. He's mixed there. So he knows how to go in deep water, so he's not going to be surprised if the fight gets hard. And I think that's what he was suggesting when he was saying it's going to be a crazy fight, that he's saying that if David takes the fight to him, he's happy to stand there and fight.
Well, at the end of the day, hey, whatever he comes in, I always also say you can only do what your opponent allows you to do. We will make David Haye operate how we want him to operate in that. I'm not going to dictate this fight. I guarantee, as the trainer, I guarantee the British public that we will dictate the fight. David Haye does what we want him to do, not what he wants us to do. So that's how you win fights, or that's how you win a football game. If you play to your opponent's strength, then you're in trouble. Let him worry about what you're doing, okay? And Dereck has had, in the last 12 months, he's had 42 competitive, with the exception of the fight in Halifax. Okay? No disrespect to the opponent. It wasn't that world class. Or somebody who's throwing hands at you, right? Collectively, he's had 42 competitive rounds, in comparison to David Haye's 12 rounds to 42. Yeah.
Okay.
David Haye's last fight was against Vladimir, a 12-rounder. Dereck, in the last 12 months, has fought for 42 rounds. People are forgetting that.
Just one thing before we let you go, Don. I think you'll accept that Dereck's not exactly been an angel in the past. Can you assure us he'll behave himself tomorrow night?
Most definitely. Look, like I said, because of his actions and what he's done. And again, I haven't come here to call him an angel that he doesn't do anything wrong. No, I'm against his actions in Germany against the Klitschko's, right? But there is reasons behind those, which will be revealed in one day. Okay, but it shouldn't have happened. He did it, and he's apologized publicly for those incidents, and also what happened with Haye should never happen. He's apologized for that also, and I believe when he wins tomorrow, okay, hopefully the public can maybe to start to forgive this, because he wants to redeem his life. He wants to redeem himself, clean up his image, and he wants to fight and entertain people. I think he should be allowed to do that, starting from tomorrow.
Okay, we'll see. Don, thank you very much for joining us. Much appreciated.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
What kind of a fight do you think it's going to be, Spencer? In terms of, will it go the distance, or can you see it finishing early?
I think the writings on the wall, it says it's going to be a distance fight, doesn't it? David Haye, I think that if he doesn't fancy it and he feels that Dereck's too strong, because Dereck is physically strong. Dereck doesn't possess one-punch knockout power. He's very physically strong now. If David feels that he's, and he's got the 2.5 stone weight advantage, so if he feels that he's too strong, David's got a very good boxing brain. He's very intelligent. He was a world silver medalist as an amateur, and he'll box on the outside and he'll look for the combinations. Then he'll look to nick the fight on points. Now, if David fancies it, he'll go at Dereck. But Dereck, what he has shown in the past is that he's got a tremendous chin. So I mean, I think that 12 rounds or 10 rounds, which it's been cut to now, I think it could go to 10-round distance. I think if you was a betting person, that's the way you'd go.
All right, Chris, we've got the odds up here for potential results in this fight. Just talk us through, what might be a reasonable bet on this market.
Well, the confidence is behind the points verdict for Haye. I think that was as big as 5-2 at the start of the week. It's now, as you can see, they're just 15-8. So there's been real money behind that. People thinking this fight will go the distance and David Haye will get the decision. But if you fancy, perhaps it will go the distance, but maybe Chisora can get a result there. That's even money, double your money, even money, of course. But the big bet there, the 8 that are displayed here on points, 5-2 is to 15-8.
Wow, that's big money for that. It does often happen, Spencer, doesn't it? We get a fight that's billed as, a lot of bad blood, they don't like each other, but sometimes it doesn't quite develop into the brawl, the punch-up, the explosion that people expect it to.
But do you know what, Trevor? I think on this occasion, I think we can expect that. I mean, what happened out in Germany, we saw that with David clocking Dereck in the mouth with a bottle and a fist. I think that
cameras flying
absolutely, tripods flying around. So I think that, listen, there's going to be no love lost here, and I think at some point through the fight, whether they go out there, I've got a feeling in the first round they might go out there, take a look at each other. There'll be a little bit of respect, and as soon as they've felt each other a little bit, I know at some point, there's going to be fireworks. Okay. I think you can guarantee that.
We're going to mention we're going to talk about the Khan Garcia fight after the break, Chris, but fair to say there'll be more money bet on the Chisora fight against Haye than the one in the States.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Amir Khan. Yeah. In fact, this is sort of trespassed into his weekend, really. But you're right. Haye is a big public figure, a big British figure. He was a single-figure prize to be BBC Sports Personality of the Year 13 months ago. He was the darling of the primetime Saturday night, ITV, BBC.
Not only that, it's also heavyweight boxing, isn't it? It just
course,
seems to catch the public imagination. I mean, and if you think about it, when you go down to sort of like light welterweights and looking at Amir Khan's and Danny Garcia's, you're going to see some real intelligent boxing there, you know what I mean? And the heavyweights, you're just going to see a big brawl, but that's what the public seem to want. Yeah,
well, they've sold lots of tickets, haven't they, for Upton Park? That's tomorrow night, of course. But after the break, we are going to talk about that fight, Amir Khan versus Danny Garcia in Las Vegas, so don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching The Fight Show here on Sports Tonight. We've talked about the big heavyweight clash. That's in East London, of course, at the weekend. And 5,000 miles away in Las Vegas, Khan will take on Garcia. I'm really looking forward to this fight. Now, I know better than to argue with the boxer, but I think, Spencer, we might disagree on this, because I think you're quite sweet on Khan, aren't you, to win this fight?
I think he certainly starts favourite. Listen, I'm not underestimating Danny Garcia. I think that what he's achieved so far is remarkable. He's beat Kendall Holt, who was a former champion, and Nate Campbell, who was a former champion, but both past their prime. And also, when he won the title last time out against Eric Morales, done so in a terrific fashion.
And he's a tough Mexican, Morales.
He is. He's very, very good. But Garcia just took over, wore him down, floored him in the 11th, and won the fight quite convincingly.
Yeah.
So that tells you that he's got the credentials to be a good fighter. But I just think it may be a little bit too much too soon. I think that Khan may bring a little bit too much to the table. I think that if you ask me the way the fight would go, I would say that the longer the fight goes, the more Garcia's got a chance. But Amir Khan is renowned for starting fast. Danny Garcia renowned for starting slow. Now that's when, you know, Garcia could have problems. Khan will go out there, and if he catches him, he won't let him off the hook. But I think that if Garcia gets into the second half of the fight, I think he could cause Amir Khan some problems as well. So that's not sitting on the fence. That's just telling you exactly the way the fight will go.
Okay, all right. Let's bring Chris in here because, I mean, all the money's been for Khan. I mean, very, very short he is, which makes, for me anyway, as a punter, Garcia a price. Let's have a look at the odds as they stand right now. Current prices in this fight. I think we can see in a moment. You might know anyway.
Yeah, I think
there we go. 1 to 5 Haye. Yeah. Oh, that's the previous fight. I beg your pardon. But he's very short, Garcia.
It's 5 to 1 on.
5 to 1 on.
Amir Khan. I think he opened up at 1 to 4, so there's been sustained money for Amir Khan. 1 to 5. Danny Garcia around the 3 to 1 mark at the moment. So yeah, a lot of confidence behind Amir Khan. I just want to ask Spencer a wee question because of course Khan was scheduled to be fighting Islam and Peterson. Of course, Peterson got
all the problems with the drug test.
And Danny Garcia came in late. How much will that affect him, the fact that he's coming at this fight late?
I think if anything, he'll see it as his big chance. That he wants to see this, and I've been doing the build up to this fight as well. And I think that Garcia is very annoyed that he's considered the underdog, although he's WBC champion. And I think that they see this as their chance to get onto the big platform, to superstardom. So when you get that opportunity and you're champion, when you become champion, it elevates you to another level anyway. Now when you get that opportunity and he sees Amir Khan, who we know can be vulnerable at times, and we've seen it, we saw it against Maidana, we saw him get knocked out against Prescott, so we all know that there's a chance there. He's not unbeatable. He's seen him get beat before, he's seen him get rocked before, so he's going to fancy that massively, and that may bring, he may bring his A game to the table, and that may cause Khan some problems. But I just think that the difference here is the speed of punch. Amir Khan is so fast. Danny Garcia is quite slow and quite ponderous. Now that's why I fancy. Is it
a real disadvantage to get a late call?
No, definitely not. My point that I was making there is that I think if anything that will spur him on. He's got the call and he'll fancy it even more because this is his chance to jump up to superstar platform.
He's got his belt back, hasn't he, now, because Peterson's had it removed from him. That's not how a fighter wants to get it though, is it?
They don't want to win it back like that, no. I think that for Amir Khan now, he'll just see this as winning the WBC title, and that's the title now that he'll be looking forward to getting his hands on. He doesn't really want it like that, but I think there was a lot of crying from Amir Khan after the defeat against Peterson. In my book, I think he should have just walked away, accepted defeat gracefully, because I think he lost the fight. I think he was sort of like doing himself an injustice really by like moaning about it so much and stuff. All right, it's come to light that yes, Peterson was taking some form of steroid or performance enhancing drug, but that would have come out anyway. Amir Khan shouldn't have sort of been moaning about that so much. But look, he's been given his belt back. He'll be pleased about that, but I think his real eye will be on the prize of WBC title.
All right, let's look at the round by round betting, and Chris, maybe you can take us through this. Khan on points is a 6 to 4 shot if you think that it will go the distance, and to be fair, he doesn't often get stopped, Garcia. He's a 10 to 1 shot on points.
I think that, do you know what? I think the best bet there would be, I think if you was a betting man and you wanted to bet, Garcia on points would be the best bet.
I've just looked at that. I just
10 to 1 is a big price.
10 to 1,
it is
huge.
Because we've seen in past with Amir Khan fights that he starts so fast, but he does run out of ideas, and he can become one-dimensional. And we've seen that before when a fighter puts pressure on Amir Khan, he loses it a little bit. He gets a little bit flustered. Now that's what will happen because Garcia won't stop coming at him. So if you're a betting man, Garcia 10 to 1, that's massive odds.
Yeah, no, I've just seen that, and I tend to agree with you.
Khan on points, it's been back. Really, it was 7 to 4. I talked about it Wednesday into 6 to 4.
Into 6 to 4.
Like the previous fights, the points betting that's been back.
Yeah. Does it affect the betting revenue, Chris, that the fight's at such an unholy hour? As far as this, it's 4 a.m. in the morning our time on on Sunday?
I think there won't be much money taken. No, not too much money taken in this fight because of the fact it's on so late, plus the fact it's up against Haye against Chisora as well. So it's very much the supporting act, isn't it?
Which in some ways is a bit unfair because this is a unification title fight.
Yeah.
Me and Chris were talking about this before. It's such a shame because you got the guys there. I mean, it's a tremendous fight, Khan and Garcia, and it's such a shame. It's just going to live in the shadows, and it's probably not even going to get mentioned this weekend because, like I said, and that's what I said to you. Whatever's gone on with David Haye and Dereck Chisora, love it or hate it, the public interest is absolutely phenomenal.
We've got some odds on some of the other possible outcomes here, Chris. Khan by KO or TKO's 5-4. That Garcia by decision is 11-1. The draw was always a big price. I mean, especially bearing in mind the fights in America, not here. I mean, not that I want to sound cynical in any way, but I'm just thinking.
Absolutely. Listen, we all want Amir Khan to win, but if you want to earn a few quid, you're going to go Garcia by decision. I mean, I just can't believe those odds, to be fair.
11-1, yeah. I think you're right to be cynical about American boxing. Let's be honest, but yeah, like I say, the Khan by decision has been the most popular bet out of the 5 displayed there, 2-1 and it's 7-4. But you're right, be cynical.
Do you think what went on in that Peterson fight with Khan and the man in the hat and all that nonsense has that kind of hurt the image of boxing because it doesn't need stuff like that? I don't read too much into that
because it turned out he was an IBF official anyway. But he had nothing to do with the fight. And okay, he was up and he was doing whatever he was doing, but I didn't read too much into that. I thought that was more Khan making a big issue about things. I think that what's come to light now is that Peterson was taking performance enhancing drugs. Yes. Well, that's fine, but I think all that little stuff about the guy, the IBF official, getting up and passing bits of paper and stuff, I think that they sort of jumped on that a little bit too much. I think that was Amir Khan's camp trying to say, well, look, something's going on. They was looking for something to say, look, I was robbed. But I mean, I don't know if you both watched the fight, but I watched the fight and I thought that Khan lost the fight. And they was talking about the decision where he lost points. He kept pushing him. The rules state do not push a fighter off, and he was doing it constantly. I mean, for me, Peterson won the fight. So okay, yes, he's won it now illegally with the drugs and stuff, but at the time, I think Khan he should have just let that go, and I think people respected that a bit more.
I was at Madison Square Garden when Lewis and Holyfield famously fought the draw that was never a draw.
Yeah.
But those kind of really rogue decisions, there aren't too many of them now in the big fights.
There's not. I think it's because there's so much money involved and pay-per-view, and people want to see the right decision. So yeah, they rarely get it wrong. And you was talking there about Lewis Holyfield. I think the second fight was even closer than the first one.
Yes, it was definitely.
Yeah, right there, all right. But I mean, it's just boxing. We got 3 judges. That here we are. We're all looking at it from different angles. You're one side of the ring, you're the other, and I'm the other. Yeah. So we all see different fights, and it's just the judges and the way that they see it.
Okay, prediction time, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Chris. Haye Chisora.
Haye knockout.
Haye knockout, okay. Yeah. And Garcia against Amir Khan.
Khan knockout, I really hope.
Okay. And Spencer in the Haye Chisora?
That's a difficult one for me because Derek's so close to me, but talking from my boxing head, I'm going to go with Haye on points.
Okay. And Garcia and Khan?
I'm going to go with Khan on points.
Khan on points, okay. Well, whatever. It's going to be an absolutely superb weekend of boxing, and one thing that we can definitely guarantee is that it'll have all the follow-up stories and plenty of moves in the betting as well next week after those fights have happened as we build up to the Olympic boxing as well, and no doubt there'll be some interest in that too. But from Spencer, from Chris and from me, hope you've enjoyed our fight show. We'll see you again soon. For now, bye-bye.